The rain hammered against the hospital window like 1,000 unanswered questions, drowning out the sterile beep of the machines. Elena's eyes fluttered open, hazy and unfocused, locking onto mine for the first time in 48 agonizing hours, and there was nothing. No spark. No recognition. Just the blank stare of a stranger wearing the face of the woman I'd built my world around. Who? Who are you? She whispered, her voice cracking like the thunder outside. And in that moment, our 5 years together shattered into silence. I froze, my heart slamming against my ribs, the coffee cup slipping from my numb fingers to spill across the linoleum floor. 5 years of stolen kisses in blueprint-strewn lofts, of her hand steady on my waist during midnight walks along the Hudson gone, erased by twisted metal and a semi-truck that fate had aimed like a cruel architect's arrow. Piper, I managed, my throat raw from endless vigil. I'm Piper. You're Piper. New York City had always been our canvas. Elena and I, two women carving out a life amid the steel skeletons of skyscrapers and the relentless pulse of ambition. I was 25 when we met, a wide-eyed graphic designer fresh from a dingy Queens apartment, hustling freelance gigs that paid in ramen and rejection emails. Elena was 27, already a rising star at a midtown firm, her portfolios filled with visions of sustainable spires that whispered promises of a greener skyline. We collided at a rooftop gala in Chelsea, the kind where champagne flutes clinked like wind chimes and the skyline glittered like a lover's promise. She was leaning against the railing, her black blazer tailored sharp over a silk blouse that caught the city lights, sketching idly on a napkin with a pen she'd stolen from the bar. I remember the way her dark hair fell in a severe bob, framing eyes the color of aged whiskey, hazel flecked with gold that seemed to hold the weight of every blueprint she'd ever drawn. You're drawing the Empire State? I teased, sliding up beside her with a stolen flute of bubbly, my own auburn curls wild from the humid night air. She glanced up, a slow smile curling her lips full, painted a defiant red that matched the flush creeping up her neck. Nah. Fixing it. Adding a rooftop garden that actually works. Not just some token ivy wall for the tourists. Her voice was low, laced with that Midwestern lilt she'd never quite shaken from her Chicago roots, even after 3 years in the city. We talked for hours that night about brutalist facades versus organic curves, about how design wasn't just lines on paper but the stories they told. By dawn, as the party thinned and the first light painted the Hudson gold, she kissed me under the shadow of the High Line, her hands firm on my hips, pulling me into a world I'd only dreamed of sketching. That was the beginning. 5 years blurred into a montage of us, lazy Sundays in our walk-up in the village, where sunlight filtered through blinds to dance across her drafting table cluttered with coffee stains and half-eaten bagels. I'd tease her about her obsession with Frank Lloyd Wright, how she'd murmur form follows function even in bed, her fingers tracing the architecture of my spine like it was her next commission. We'd fight. Buga. Did we fight? About her 70-hour weeks that left me staring at blank screens alone, about my freelance droughts that made her worry lines deepen like cracks in concrete. But we'd always circle back. Her apologies whispered against my collarbone, my forgiveness sealed with takeout from that hole-in-the-wall dim sum spot on Mott Street. Elena was the planner, the one who saw the blueprint in chaos. Me? I was the color, the splash of unexpected red in her grayscale world. We adopted a scrappy tabby cat named Wright, after Frank, of course, and turned our tiny balcony into a jungle of potted fern she insisted on watering at dawn. Our love was quiet revolutions, her coming out to her conservative family over a strained Thanksgiving call, Me introducing her to my ragtag artist friends at a Soho gallery opening, where we danced until our feet ached to indie folk covers of Springsteen. But beneath the romance, fissures formed. Elena's firm was gunning for a massive Hudson Yards project, a gleaming eco-tower that could make or break her career. The pressure mounted like storm clouds over the East River. Late nights stretched into all-nighters. She'd stumble home at 3 a.m. eyes bloodshot, collapsing onto the couch without a word. I'd wake to find her sketches scattered like fallen leaves, her handwriting frantic, sustainable integrity versus client demands. One night, after she'd snapped at me over a forgotten dinner reservation, "Piper, I can't think about Thai food when the whole damn structure could collapse," I stormed out, pounding the pavement until my sneakers wore thin on the Bowery. She found me hours later at a dive bar in the Lower East Side, nursing a whiskey neat and sketching doodles of crumbling bridges on a coaster. "I'm sorry," she said, sliding onto the stool beside me, her hand finding mine under the scarred wooden bar. Rain slicked her hair, turning it to ink. Her blazer hung loose, unbuttoned like an invitation. "This project, it's eating me alive. But you're the only thing keeping me grounded." We walked home in the downpour, her arm around my waist, laughing at the absurdity of it all, two drenched lesbians dodging puddles like they were plot twists in a Nora Ephron script. That fight patched us, but others loomed. Whispers from her office, a colleague named Marcus, slick and ambitious, who'd been angling for the same lead role. Elena brushed it off. "He's just noise, babe." But I saw the doubt in her eyes, the way she'd check her phone during our rare date nights at the Frick, half expecting a curveball email. So, we pushed forward. She proposed on our 4th anniversary, not with a ring but with a custom blueprint, our dream house, a modest A-frame in the Catskills, complete with a studio for my designs and a wraparound porch for her stargazing sketches. "Build this with me?" she'd asked, unrolling the paper across our kitchen table, her voice trembling like the first crack of spring ice. I said yes, tears blurring the elevations, and we celebrated with cheap Merlot and a playlist of Joni Mitchell. Life felt solid then, like one of her load-bearing walls, unshakable, even as the city roared on. The crash came on a Tuesday in October, the kind of crisp autumn day when the leaves in Central Park burned crimson and gold, mocking the fragility of it all. Elena was driving back from a site visit in Brooklyn, her sleek Audi humming along the FDR Drive, radio tuned to that indie station we both loved, Pavement's fuzzy guitars cutting through the traffic hum. I was at home, knee-deep in a logo mock-up for a craft beer client, right purring on my lap, when my phone shattered the quiet. "MS. Harlow." The voice was clipped. "Official NYPD. There's been an accident. Your partner, Elena Vasquez. She's at Mount Sinai. Stable. But you should come now." The world tilted. I grabbed my keys, heart jackhammering, and bolted into the street, hailing a cab that crawled through gridlock like a bad omen. By the time I burst into the ER waiting room, the rain had started, a biblical deluge that turned the sidewalks to rivers. A doctor met me in the hall, her scrubs crisp, face etched with that practiced empathy. "Concussion. Some fractures. Memory. It might be affected. Amnesia from the trauma. We're monitoring." I nodded, numb, following her to the room where Elena lay, tubes snaking from her arms, monitors casting a green glow on her bruised face. She looked smaller. Somehow, her sharp edges softened by sedation. I sank into the chair beside her, taking her hand cold, limp, and whispered every promise I'd ever made. I'll wait. We'll rebuild. I love you. She woke at midnight, the storm raging outside like it was morning for us. And when she looked at me, it wasn't with love or confusion, it was emptiness. Who are you? She'd said. And the words landed like debris from the wreck. The days that followed were a haze of neurology consults and awkward silences. Elena's short-term memory held. She could recount the crash in fragmented bursts, the screech of tires, the semi veering into her lane, but the long-term? A void. Our apartment was alien to her. Right hissed like a stranger had invaded. I'd show her photos on my phone, us at Pride in leather jackets and rainbow pins, grinning like fools, her kissing my cheek at a firm holiday party, tinsel tangled in my curls, and she'd study them with polite detachment. You seem nice, she'd say, handing the phone back, her hazel eyes drifting to the window where the city lights blurred into anonymity. I clung to routines, desperate to anchor her. Mornings, I'd brew her favorite Ethiopian pour-over, the one from that roastery in Williamsburg, and play our playlist starting with Both Sides Now because it always made her hum. This song. It feels familiar, she'd murmur once, a flicker in her gaze, but it faded like smoke. Afternoons, I'd will her to physical therapy in the hospital garden, pointing out the ginkgo trees turning yellow. We planted one like this on our balcony last spring. You said it symbolized resilience. She'd nod, gripping the chair arms, her legs still weak from the pins in her femur. Resilience. That's a good word for architects, but there was no us in it. No shared history to warm the chill. Her family arrived from Chicago, her mother, Rosa, a no-nonsense nurse with salt and pepper hair pulled into a bun, and her sister Carla, a lawyer with Elena's sharp jaw but softer eyes. They enveloped her in hugs and Spanish endearments, sidelining me with well-meaning exclusion. Piper, right? The roommate, Rosa asked once, patting my arm like I was the help. I bit my tongue, explaining our life in clipped sentences while they fussed over discharge plans. Elena was going home with them, to recover in the familiar embrace of her childhood bedroom, away from the stress of our urban nest. That night, as they packed her things, I cornered her in the bathroom, the fluorescent hum our only witness. This is our home, Elena. Our life. You have to try, please. My voice broke, hands trembling as I cupped her face, thumbs brushing the fading bruise on her cheek. She pulled back gently, her expression a mix of pity and pain. I want to remember. Piper. I do. But right now, you're just a name on a chart. I'm sorry. The door clicked shut behind her, and I slid down the wall, sobbing into my knees as the rain wept with me. Discharge day dawned gray, the city shrouded in fog like a half-erased sketch. I drove them to LaGuardia in my beat-up Subaru, the silence thicker than the humidity. At the gate, Elena hugged me awkwardly, her cast bumping my ribs. Thank you, she said, for being here. Rosa pressed a Tupperware of empanadas into my hands, for the cat, and they were gone, swallowed by the security line. Back in the empty apartment, Wright circled my ankles, meowing accusations. I unrolled her blueprint proposal from the drawer, tracing the lines with a fingertip smudged in graphite. Build this with me? The words mocked me now. I poured a glass of that Merlot we'd shared, toasting the ghost, and wondered if love could survive demolition. The first month without Elena was a masterclass in unraveling. New York. That indifferent beast. Churned on, commuters shoving past me on the 6 train. Baristas slinging lattes with mechanical cheer. But my world had contracted to the 4 walls of our apartment. Now a museum of what was. I'd wake at 4 a.m. Her side of the bed a cold expanse. And scroll through old texts. Miss your chaos. Babe. Home soon. E from 2 years back. After a conference in Seattle. Or the heart eyes emoji chain from our trip to Fire Island, where we'd rented a bungalow and spent days tangled in hammocks. Nights under stars that felt closer than the city ever allowed. Work became my scaffold. I threw myself into gigs, rebranding a startup app with bold sans serifs that screamed innovation, even as my own life screamed loss. My best friend, Theo, a queer photographer with a mane of locks and a laugh like thunder, dragged me to openings and brunches. You're not a widow. Pipes, he'd say over avocado toast at the butcher's daughter, his dark eyes serious behind wire rims. Amnesia's not a death sentence. It's a plot twist, but plot twists hurt. Elena texted sporadically from Chicago, updates filtered through Carla, therapy's going well. Starting to walk without the cane. No mentions of us. No questions about the life she'd lost. I stalked her firm's LinkedIn. Saw the Hudson Yards project proceeding without her. Marcus's smug face plastered on progress reports. Jealousy gnawed at me, not just for the career she'd poured her soul into, but for the version of her that remembered boardrooms and deadlines, but not my birthday candle wishes or the way I'd trace mine on her thigh with lipstick. Then came the call. 6 weeks post-crash. On a sleety December afternoon. I was sketching mood boards in a coffee shop near Union Square. The kind with mismatched mugs and indie rock murmuring low. When my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Chicago area code. Piper? It's Elena. Her voice clearer now. Less medicated. Sent a jolt through me like espresso straight to the vein. Hey, I breathed. Fumbling my stylus. Ink smearing across the iPad. How's everything? Pause. The line crackling with distance. Better. The headaches are down to once a week. Mom's driving me nuts with her arroz con pollo every night. But I saw a sketch you sent. From that brewery job? Carla showed me. It's killer. Relief flooded me. Warm as sunlight on frost. Yeah? They're launching next month. Bold colors. Like we talked about for our Catskills place. Another pause. Longer. The Catskills. Right. The blueprint. I found a copy in my bag. It's good work. Not our work. Just work. But it was a thread. Fragile as spider silk. We talked for an hour surface stuff at first. Weather and holidays. Then dipping into deeper waters. She asked about Wright. Tell him I miss his judgmental stare. About my latest freelance drama. Laughter crept in. Tentative. Like a cat testing new territory. I'm coming back, she said abruptly. As the call wound down. Firms insisting. Partial hours. Starting after New Year's. Can I crash at the apartment? Just for a bit. My heart somersaulted. Of course. It's yours. Ours. The word hung there. Unclaimed. She returned on a blustery January eve. Suitcase wheels rumbling over the threshold like thunder. She'd lost weight. Her cheekbones sharper under that olive skin. But her hair was growing out, soft waves brushing her collar. I hugged her, brief, electric, and she stiffened only a fraction before relaxing into it. "Smells like home," she murmured, inhaling the faint jasmine from the diffuser I'd kept running, a ritual we'd shared. Reintegration was a dance of ghosts. I'd cook her favorites, spaghetti carbonara with extra pancetta, the way her abuela taught her, and she'd eat with polite enthusiasm, complimenting the crispness of the bacon. Evenings, we'd sit on the couch, right wedged between us like a furry chaperone, and I'd pull out artifacts, ticket stubs from Wicked, her Broadway obsession, a pressed wildflower from our hike in the Palisades. "This was us," I'd say, voice steady as I could manage. "Picnic under the cliffs. You proposed to the river first. Marry me. Hudson. You're wilder than any skyline." She'd chuckle. "A sound like cracking ice, beautiful, but brittle. Sounds like me. Reckless." One. Her fingers lingered on the photo, tracing my smile. "You look happy here." "With me." I was. "AM." The words ached, heavy with the unspoken. "Fight for this. Remember." But amnesia wasn't the only intruder. Work pulled her back and claws out. The firm sent a car on her first day, whisking her to Midtown where glass towers loomed like judgmental elders. She came home late, reeking of takeout Thai and printer ink, collapsing with tales of catch-up meetings. Marcus was there. Of course, promoted to lead, she said casually one night, shrugging off her coat. "He's got the vision thing down, but his elevations are sloppy. Like he's building with Play-Doh." I forced a laugh, stirring risotto on the stove, but envy twisted in my gut. Marcus, with his Ivy pedigree and easy charm, the one who'd always eyed her like she was the missing piece in his portfolio. Before the crash, she'd vented about his bro-y advances, shoulder squeezes in the break room, accidental brushes during reviews. "He's harmless," she'd insisted. Now, with our history a blank slate, what shield did she have? The first crack came at a gallery opening I dragged her to in February, Theo's exhibit on queer icons, shots of leather-clad dykes and trans elders in gilded frames. The space buzzed with the village's finest, artists in ripped denim, collectors with Botox smiles. Elena looked stunning in an emerald sheath that hugged her returning curves, her hair pinned back to reveal the faint scar like a silver thread. We sipped Pinot, mingling, and for a moment, it felt like old times, her hand on the small of my back, whispering critiques of the lighting, too harsh, washes out the shadows. Then Marcus appeared, uninvited, champagne flute in hand, his Brooks Brothers suit screaming Wall Street cast-off. "Elena, the prodigal returns." He air-kissed her cheeks, lingering a beat too long, then turned to me with a perfunctory nod. "And you must be Piper." "Girlfriend." The word dropped like a gauntlet. His brows arched, amusement flickering. Right. Heard about the situation." He clapped her shoulder. "Proprietary. We need you back full-time. Vasquez." "That tower won't design itself." She flushed, stepping away. "Soon, Marcus." "Baby steps." He laughed. "Too loud." "Babies. Huh. Speaking of, drinks after? Catch up on the renders." "My treat." She hesitated, glancing at me, guilt, confusion, then nodded. "Sure." "Work stuff." I excused myself to the bathroom, splashing water on my face, staring at the mirror's cruel clarity. Girlfriend. Title. Not a tether. Back in the fray. I found them deep in shop talk. Her animated, gesturing with that passion I knew so well, hands slicing air like drafting tools. He touched her arm again. Casual. And she didn't pull away. That night, in bed, the distance yawned wider than the Hudson. He's just a colleague, she murmured. Back to me. The sheet's a barrier. I know, but I didn't. Doubt festered, blooming into accusations I swallowed like bitter pills. Spring thawed the city. But not us. Elena's memory teased flashes, like half-rendered models, the taste of my morning eggs, the curve of my laugh during the office reruns. Therapy helped. Her neurologist called it incremental reintegration, prescribing journals where I'd write our stories, leaving them on her nightstand like breadcrumbs. One entry, the night we got right. You cried when he purred for the first time, said it was the first home you'd felt since leaving Chicago. She read them, underlined passages, but the intimacy, elusive as a perfect skyline view. Sex was the cruelest casualty, tentative touches that fizzled into frustration. I want to feel it, she'd confess, tears hot on my shoulder. But it's like chasing a shadow. Meanwhile, Marcus orbited closer. Team building happy hour, she'd say. Coming home tipsy from the dead rabbit. Lipstick smudged from a shared pint glass. I'd nod, pasting on smiles. But inside, betrayal brewed, not hers. Yet, but the slow erosion of us. Theo warned me over beers at his Bushwick studio. She's rebuilding. Pipes. Don't build walls around her. But walls were her language. I started pulling away. Late nights at client sites. Sketches that veered abstract, swirling voids instead of logos. One evening, I came home to find her on the balcony. Phone to ear. Voice low and urgent. Marcus. I can't. It's complicated. The crash. Memories spotty. But Piper, she's been amazing. Pause. His reply muffled. No. I don't know. Maybe. She hung up as I stepped out. Wind whipping my hair. Everything okay? Fine. Just work drama. Her eyes avoided mine. Hazel dimmed by city haze. The high tide of it all crashed in May. At the firm's annual gala, black tie affair at the Rainbow Room. Chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold over the plaza's spires. Elena begged me to come. As my +1, she said. The word's a lifeline. I rented a midnight blue gown that clung like regret. Curls tamed into waves. Lips stained berry red. She looked like sin in a tailored tuxedo. Bowtie askew. Scar a subtle badge of survival. The night hummed with power players, developers toasting to vertical ambition, waiters gliding with caviar blinis. We danced once. Slow to Ella Fitzgerald. Her chin on my shoulder. Breath warm against my neck. This feels right, she whispered. And for a heartbeat, I believed her. Then Marcus swooped in. Entourage in tow. Pulling her into a huddle by the bar. I nursed a gin fizz, watching as laughter bubbled. His hand on her elbow guiding her to the dance floor. They swayed professional. He swore later, but the way she leaned into him, head tilting back in genuine mirth, gutted me. I slipped out to the terrace, the spring air sharp with river tang, tears blurring the glittering panorama. Minutes later, she found me. Piper? What's wrong? You, I choked. Whirling. Dancing with him like I'm invisible. Like 5 years mean nothing. Her face crumpled. It's nothing. Colleague stuff. Bullshit. The word exploded. Raw and American as a subway rant. You're flirting. Elena. And it kills me because I don't know if it's you forgetting or you choosing. She recoiled. Arms crossing like rebar. Choosing? I'm trying to remember a life that feels like fiction. Journals. Photos, they're pretty stories. But they're not mine yet. Marcus. He gets the now. The work. The me that's still here. The betrayal landed like a wrecking ball, not physical, but seismic. So I'm the ghost haunting your present? Fine. Go build your towers with him. I stormed past, heels clicking fury on marble, hailing a cab into the night. She didn't follow. Days blurred into radio silence. She moved out temporarily to a sublet in Tribeca, closer to the firm. My texts went unread. Come home. Let's try. Theo crashed on my couch, force-feeding me pad thai and rom-coms, but the apartment echoed with absence. Wright sulked, batting at her abandoned sketches. Then, the gut punch email from her work address, forwarded through HR. Project update. Elena Vasquez and Marcus Hale co-lead on Hudson Yards expansion. Groundbreaking next month. A photo attached them at the site. Hard hats tilted jauntily. Arms slung around each other amid steel beams and hard hats. Grins wide as the river. Betrayal. Crystallized. I forwarded it to Carla. Tell your sister I saw this. Done waiting. And deleted every trace, the blueprint, the journals, her number. Love, I realize, wasn't a structure you rebuilt alone. It was mutual load-bearing, or it collapsed. Summer scorched the city, humidity thick as unresolved grief. I threw myself into a solo show, abstract griefscapes in charcoal and acrylic, exhibited at a tiny spot in Dumbo. Critics called it visceral. Patrons bought prints of swirling voids. Elena's name surfaced in industry buzz. Rising star rebounds post-trauma. No mention of us. One humid night in July, as fireflies danced over the East River from my new rooftop shares in Williamsburg, my phone lit up. Her number. I almost let it ring out, but curiosity or masochism won. Piper. Her voice. Cracked like old plaster. I'm sorry. For everything. The apology call stretched into the witching hour. Elena's words tumbling like debris from a gutted high-rise. She was at a bar in Soho neutral ground. She'd suggested. Voice slurred just enough to betray the whiskey chasers. I saw your show listing. Theo posted it. The pieces. They're us, aren't they? The empty spaces. I laughed. Bitter as black coffee. Bingo. Come see for yourself. Tomorrow. Closing night. She did. The gallery thrummed with the artsy crowd. Tattooed poets nursing IPAs. Collectors in linen suits murmuring about emotional architecture. Elena slipped in late, unassuming in jeans and a faded Ramones tee. Her hair loose and sun-streaked from weekend escapes to the Hamptons with colleagues. She'd later clarify. She wove through the throng, eyes scanning until they locked on mine. Hazel meeting green across the white walls. A current pulling taut. We didn't speak until the crowd thinned. Standing before my centerpiece. Amnesia Arch. A massive canvas of interlocking voids in bruised purples and silvers. Evoking collapsed bridges over abyssal drops. This, she said softly, fingers hovering near the frame, is how it felt. Like falling through my own designs. Yeah. I crossed my arms, the black sheath dress I'd chosen feeling like armor. You left a hell of a blueprint for it. She winced, the scar on her forehead catching the spotlights. Marcus. It wasn't what you think. Late nights. Yeah. But when you walked out that night, I panicked. He was easy, familiar without the weight. No expectations. No lost years to mourn. I slept with him once. Drunk. Stupid. Regretted it before the sun hit the sheets. The confession hung sharp as rebar. Betrayal's full bloom, physical now. A knife twist in the ribs. Once. Echoed. Voice a whisper shout. Jesus. Elena. That's not a footnote. That's demolition. I know. Tears welled. Carving tracks through her minimal makeup. I'm not the woman you loved. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But these flashes. They're coming back. The way you'd hum show tunes in the shower. Off-key and perfect. The night we fought over that client who ghosted you. And I built a fort out of couch cushions to hide us from the world. My throat tightened. Memories flooding unbidden. Her laughter echoing in that pillow citadel. Our bodies rediscovering each other amid the chaos. Why tell me now? Because I'm done running. Therapy's unearthed more emails I wrote you during the crash recovery. Half remembered. And Carla. She flew out last week. Sat me down with the full story. Our story. The proposal. The fights. The way you held me through my coming out call with Mom. She stepped closer. The gallery's hum fading to white noise. I betrayed you. Piper. With him. With my fear. But I want to rebuild. If you'll let me. The offer dangled. Fragile as a suspension bridge in wind. Part of me wanted to shatter it, walk away into the Brooklyn night. Let the wound scar over. But love? That stubborn engineer. Whispered of reinforcements. Of redesigns stronger for the breaks. Slow, I said finally. Voice steady. No grand gestures. Just coffee. Dates. Like we're strangers who might build something new. Her smile broke. Tentative gold in the hazel. Strangers with history. I can do that. We started small, Tuesdays at that Ethiopian spot. Injera tearing between fingers as she quizzed me on details. What was our first fight about? Her leaving dishes in the sink. I'd called it urban entropy. Walks in Washington Square Park. Where jugglers tossed pins and buskers crooned Dylan. Her hand brushing mine until one dusk hour. She laced our fingers deliberate. This feels right, she'd say. Echoing that gala night. But now with weight. With intent. Summer ripened into fall. Leaves carpeting the paths like discarded sketches. Elena's memory pieced together mosaic style. Not whole. But vivid shards. The sting of our first kiss under high line tracks. Rain slick and urgent. The quiet terror of her firm's pink slip scare 2 years back. When I'd pulled all-nighters beside her. Caffeinated and fierce. Intimacy rebuilt brick by brick. Kisses that started chaste. Exploratory. Blooming into nights where her hands mapped me like fresh terrain. Apologies murmured against skin. I remember this curve. Yours. Marcus faded to footnote. A transfer to the LA office. His advances rebuffed with Elena's trademark steel. I'm taken. Building something solid. The Hudson Yards project launched without her lead. But she didn't mourn it. Instead, She sketched freelance, sustainable retrofits for Brooklyn brownstones, her table once more alive with possibility. Conflicts lingered. Of course. Amnesia's shadow cast doubts. A nightmare where she woke blank again. Or arguments over old habits, her workaholic drifts pulling her late. My insecurities flaring like faulty wiring. One October Eve, after she bailed on a gallery crawl for a deadline, I unloaded in our kitchen. Pots simmering forgotten on the stove. You're slipping back into her. Elena. The one who prioritizes blueprints over us. She set down her pencil. Hazel eyes flashing. And you're still punishing me for a crash I didn't cause. I'm not her yet, Piper. But I'm trying therapy twice a week. Journals every night. What more do you want? Perfection. No. I deflated, sinking onto a stool. Just a flawed and full. She crossed the tiles, pulling me into her lap. Arms a cradle. We're architects of messes, babe. But look, we're still standing. Thanksgiving brought her family, Rosa thawing over turkey and my pecan pie. Admitting, you fight for her. Mia. Like family. Carla cornered me in the powder room, hugging fierce. She remembers the proposal now. Cried telling me, Christmas. We drove to the Catskills. The A-frame blueprint unrolled on the dashboard like a map to forgiveness. Snow blanketed the pines, crisp underfoot as we staked the lot, her with mallet and stakes, me with string lines, laughing as flurries dusted our scarves. No ring yet. But promises. We'll build slow, she said. Breath fogging the air. Layer by layer. You and me. The high drama crested New Year's Eve. Back in the city, fireworks over the harbor. Times Square's chaos a distant roar. We watched from our balcony. Right batting at champagne corks. Elena's head on my shoulder. Flash, she murmured suddenly. Sitting bolt upright. The crash. I remember. Calling you. From the ambulance. Tell Piper I love her. Don't let go. Tears froze on my lashes. You did. And I didn't. She kissed me then deep. Anchoring. 5 years and a lifetime pouring through. I remember now. All of it. The fights. The forts. The way you taste like home. Not total recall. Doctors warned fragments might linger lost, but enough. Go. Load-bearing and luminous. Spring unfurled gentle. Our life a hybrid, old blueprints revised with new lines. Elena took a junior role at a boutique firm. Sustainable focus. Home by 7 most nights. I landed a steady gig at a design collective. My voids evolving into vibrant spans. We fought still, over paint swatches for the A-frame. She wanted right-inspired earth tones. I pushed for wildflower pops, but makeup sex followed. Fierce and reaffirming. One June dawn. As sunlight gilded the Hudson from our window. She rolled over. Hazel eyes clear and sure. Marry me. Piper. Not on paper, on earth. Build it all. I traced her scar. Silver now. A testament. Yes. But only if we add a chaos wing. For the messes. She laughed, pulling me under. Deal. Form follows feeling. In the end, love wasn't erasure-proof. It was resilient as New York's grid, bent, guard, but rising. We weren't the women from 5 years back. We were remodeled. Stronger joints where fractures healed. And as the city hummed below, our story sketched onward, not perfect, but profoundly ours.